right, the next one, question number 10, says insert account A function in cell B9 that will display the total number of employees. We've already done the count function. This one works the exact same way. The only difference is this only counts if there's a value there. So it won't respond to anything, any cell that happens to be empty. So that's the difference in this. So just click in B19 and you just type the equal sign and count A. If you see it there, you can double click, it'll work too. Opens the parentheses. You can press the formula to see the values here if you would like, but all you need is the range. So it'll display the total number of employees. So if we look, my employees didn't show up. But it should count this. So this would be your range for employees. But it looks like when I saved it, my employees didn't save. So we'll have to do that again. Did everyone, do you guys have values here? Yes, some do, some don't. Let's fix it. Mine don't for some reason. If we remember, the very beginning we created that concatenate formula. So if we go over to employees, here's where they are. Just highlight all the employees. And you can right click and copy. Just move to the payroll tab and click there. And then if you paste it, move to the special paste and paste just the values. And then click save. So then the total becomes 15 once that's finished. So it's a simple count function, same thing that we were using in the previous chapter. Okay, good. Questions on that one? Did everybody get their employees back in? Okay. All right, so move to number 11. We're gonna go into this average if-s function. If we remember, on Monday, we did the sum if-s. So this one's gonna work very close to the same way. So if we remember our sum if s from the previous chapter, we chose our values that needed to be added, and then we gave it two sets of criteria. Same thing with this one, the only difference is we're choosing the values that we want to average. So the values that we select is the same, it's just that our function's different, so our value returned will be different. So let's take a look in K19, which right here is our average high sales. And it says insert average if function, if s function that will calculate the average sales results based on total sales greater than 30,000 and then clients greater than or equal to 100. Use the absolute cell reference for the criteria range 1 and 2. Okay. So our value says click in K19, which is right here for the sales. If we press equal, just type average fs and open the parentheses. And of course it gives you, is this the function you're looking for? Yes, that's it. Go ahead and press the function dialog box launcher here, and then we can see our function arguments box. The first thing it asks you is what range has the values that you want to average. So we're creating that will calculate the average sales revenue. So that's what we find first is the sales revenue column. So we can, move this around. Our total sales is F4 through F18. So that's our first value for the first box. And as you can see, it shows our total sales out to the side. Then the next one says, what's your first criteria range? Well, the first criteria is sales greater than 30,000. So the criteria range for that would be what? We have to find the values that have our sales. Right, exactly. Sales revenue once again. So we have to say out of sales revenue, then we put the criteria in, and the criteria is greater than 30,000. Now when you're typing this in, commas don't matter, and the dollar signs don't matter. So all you do is do the greater than sign, and you could just do 30,000. Don't worry about the comma or the dollar sign. Okay, so that's going to find, and it's only going to average the values in here that happen to be greater than 30,000. And then what else does it say? Good, total clients. So our criteria range 2, first we have to find our clients in the table. So our total clients for quarter 1 to quarter 2 are here. So do the quarter 2 clients because that should have both. I think we added. So take the total clients, what does it say? It doesn't say which, so take quarter 2. And then in the criteria it says greater than or equal to 100. So then we do exactly that, greater than or equal to, and just type 100. So we're saying, and I'm going to check to make sure we're not adding. Good, so that's how you fill that function out. But now let's take a look a little bit closer And if we look here, notice that here it also says by region. So if we take a look at this column of our sales revenue, there isn't anything that's greater than 30,000, yes.
When I go to type in the function box, it doesn't like add criteria to.
All right. So if we look at the table that's just above our high sales, that table says region. Those are all of our sales by region. So we've got to adjust the formula to use that. We didn't get to it yet. So I'll give you one criteria. Okay, so we need to make a slight adjustment. And this is common. This will happen to you on the test and when you're looking around. So it's good that we are doing this for practice. So this isn't the sales column. Instead, we have our table which gives us our sales by region. So it says sales by region. So this is the sales column we need. So if we take our criteria range and just highlight it, and then we'll choose this one instead. Same thing with our criteria range for number 1, because it was the sales. And then our total clients, because notice in the other one, there isn't any clients here that are over or larger than 100, but they're over here when it's set up and divided up by region. So we're going to do the same thing for clients. We're going to use that one. So highlight criteria 2 and highlight clients. So it should look like that. Okay, so this should be K12 through K15, and this criteria range should be L12 through L15. And then what does the last step say to do? Use the absolute reference for criteria range 1 and 2. So what does that mean? Good, use the F4. So we highlight criteria 1, press F4, highlight the criteria 2, press F4. Yep. Okay, so then our value, if we look at our formula, it should result in 76,928. And then if we press OK there, Then our average high sales becomes 7,900. Okay? Good. Good. What else? Alright, yeah, if these values aren't right or these values, then it's not gonna come out correct. Okay, good. So we'll move on to the next one. So of course, we have average high sales. Now we're gonna find the average high pay using the same function, this time only one criteria. So we click in L19, press equal, average, if it's, open the parentheses, press your dialog box launcher. The first one asks you your average range. So average, it's our high pay. So if we look at our table, where's our high pay? I'm sorry. Bonus greater than. Okay, so we've got to find the high pay by looking at the bonus. So we have to find the bonus inside our table, and that is G4 through G18. So just highlight that range. The first thing that it asks you is the average range. So we're averaging our high pay. So we have to go to the total pay first. So the total pay is H4 through H18, because that's the values that we're going to calculate. Then for our criteria, it asks you if the bonus is greater than 1,500. So then for the criteria range, we have our bonus range, which would be G4 through G18. Then the criteria for that is the greater than or equal to 1,500. Doesn't say anything about absolute values, so that's what we have there. We're averaging our total pay, which is this column, only if our bonus is greater than 1,500. So if we press OK there, then we get 9,759. Alright, the next one is a more advanced if statement. It actually gives you the function in here to use. Problem is we have a little mistake in the formula, so we're gonna paste it in there and then correct the formula. So it says on the retirement sheet, so don't forget we have several different sheets in this one. We have to flip over to the retirement sheet. In the retirement sheet, insert the if function, and E4 gives you the function to go ahead and type in there as a logic test, and if the results are true, the function will return the value from D4. If it's false, it returns 25. And that's what this function is saying. So click over to the retirement tab, and then we have E4, and you can just copy this out here like this. Copy it from there, click in your formula bar up at the top, and then paste it in. The mistake is removing this greater than sign. Let's see what the, if you press the check mark, it's gonna tell you Excel's found a mistake. So this happens when you're typing the values, and it actually removed it for you. Because over here there's an extra greater than sign. This should actually be removed. So Excel has automatic correction on your formulas if you were to make a typo like that. So we say yes to accept the correction, and then the formula is correct. And then go ahead and fill it all the way down to the end. And what that's doing is calculating the company's bi-weekly contribution based on what the employee has placed. Don't do anything in there, just cancel that. Copy it here. Paste it in the formula bar at the top. And then just press the check mark and accept the correction. All right, everybody have that one? Okay, good. Then just fill it down, so you have 15, 30, 35, 22, it should look like that. Okay, good. Save there, move on to the next question.
So we don't have to worry about, like, when it says if the results are true.
If you click here and you press the function box, it set it all up in there for you when we copied and pasted that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's just telling you what's happening here. If it's true, it's pulling the value from B4, which is the employee's contribution. It's gonna match the contribution. If not, it does this formula.
Okay.
All right. Number 14 is a VF function. It's a value lookup function, similar to the VLOOKUP function, except for this one is just for certain values. It doesn't actually use a table array like the VLOOKUP function did. So it says insert a VLOOKUP or a VF function in F4, the annual rate of the loan. So we're looking at F4. What we're gonna do, the FV stands for future value. So this will tell you how much a loan is worth within a certain amount of years. So the VF function says the annual rate of the loan is 2.5, 26 payments made per year, and the payment amount is the sum of the employees and the company's biweekly contribution, which is these two columns. Each employee's already contribution. So let's take a look at the formula. So press the equal, and you just do FV for future value, and open the parenthesis. Then in there has your arguments. Go ahead and press the function arguments box. And then here come your values that need to be filled. Everything in bold has to be completed, and then you have the other ones that are optional. So the first one is the rate of the loan. And it tells you down here that the annual rate of the loan is 2.25%. So you have to do 2.25, then you have to add the percent key in order for the function to work. Now the rate is based on a year or 12 months. So you have to divide that by 12. And this is in your book. To the page so I can show. That way you can read it if you need to. Page 222 in your book describes this formula, this function for you. Okay. So we have our rate, whatever the rate happens to be, and it's always divided by 12 because we have 12 months in the year. Then the next one says NPR, or number of payments. So how many payments do we have? It says there's 26 payments. So we have 26 payments. Then we have to look at how many years we're calculating. Okay. In this case, we have our number of payments, which are 26, times we want 5 years. So we have to say number of payments times 5. Because in this case, we're calculating the value in 5 years. So multiply 5. And it says that 26 payments will be made per year. We look to see that we have 5 years that we will make those payments for. Then the next thing is your payment amount. How much are you paying out of these 26 payments that have to be made in the year? How much money is actually being paid? In this case, this is whatever the employee contributed and whatever the company contributed. So we're gonna add those two values together. We're only working in this one row for right now. So we're gonna add this value plus this value. So we just click there, which does D4, press the plus key, and then E4. Okay, so that gives us our payment amount, those two there. There. We don't have to worry about the other two. It doesn't give us a present value. And we don't have to worry about what type of loan it is in this case. Okay, if you press OK there, in this case here, it says, note that the employee has already contributed funds to their account. Their current value is found in C4. They want current value inside the present value. So go ahead and type C4 in there. So that's our value of the loan. C4. Okay, then you press OK. So then here's our value in 5 years. Of course, the value in 5 years can't possibly be a negative amount. It can't pay more than the current loan. So you need to convert this and make it a positive number, which is what it says down here. Modify the formula so the value returns as a positive number. So if we look up in the formula bar, right after the equal sign before VF, if we tell it, just give it a minus key, a minus there. So this tells the formula that whatever comes out, you're going to convert it to the opposite value. So then it makes it positive. So there's your value in 5 years, and you just fill that in. Any questions on that one? That's probably the hardest one. Then we have two more activities with just a scenario manager. The scenarios. Click Save to save your work. Now what happens in the scenario manager is you can set up different scenarios in your worksheet to see what happens if you change values. For example, what happens if I added more as an employee, if I added more contribution to my loan? What would that change the value in 5 years? Instead of going through and typing it in here and changing this, and it's possible you may forget what the original numbers were, you can create scenarios to test and see what would happen if you added more or these numbers changed in your spreadsheet. So that's what we're going to do next, is create two small scenarios to see what happens if our values change. So it says use the scenario manager to create a scenario named employee. Set the scenario to modify the employee's bi-weekly contribution. So our employee bi-weekly contribution is here. And then it says for the first employee, we're going to see what happens if he puts in 20 What happens if the next employee pays 35 and then 40 and so on and so forth? So let's create it. If we go to the data tab, inside the data tab, there's a data tools group, and there's something that says what if analysis. What if these numbers change? And that's creating a scenario. Press the down arrow there. There's several different types. We're going to talk about scenario manager in this chapter. So click on the scenario manager. Of course, we don't have any scenarios at the moment, so we just need to create one. So click the add button. And it says the scenario name is employee. Make sure that's with a capital E. Then it says the scenario should modify the employee's bi-weekly contribution. So for our changing sale values, we need to put the range in for the employee's bi-weekly contribution. So highlight that. Because those are the values that we want to test. Okay, we press OK there, and then it will pull out of the range we selected. It pulls the cell, and then it pulls the current values. So you just go through and type and change. The first one, change the 15 to 20 and the 30 to 35. Then the 40, then the 25, and then the 30. And just leave the rest of them alone. It only gave us values. Oops. The first one stays the same, actually. This says, no, for the first employee 20, second 35, that's wrong. Third, I did that wrong. Third is 40. Fourth is 25, and fifth is 30. So it should look like that. $20, $35, $40, $25, $30. And then if we press OK, then our scenario is then created. And we will see what happens when we create our summary. But we have one more scenario to test. Questions on that? All right, so the next one, we create another scenario named company. So we do the same thing, just leave this box open and press add. Make this one say company. Our changing sales, it says, the scenario will modify the company's bi-weekly contribution for the first employee 10, 20, 30, 18, and 20. Because the employees change, we've got to change the companies as well in order to actually give this scenario a test to see what our future value will be. So this time, type company, changing values here is the range for the company's bi-weekly contribution, which is E4 through E18. Press OK there. It tells you about a formula. Just press OK through the formula, and then we change the values the same way. 10, 20, 20, 18. So employee number 1, 15 changes to a 10. Number 2, we're changing it to a 20. 3 is 20. 4 is 18. And the 5th one is 20. Okay. 10, 20, 20, 18, and then 20. press OK there. And now we have two scenarios here. And so then the next step says create a summary report with cells F4, F5, F6, F7, and F8. So if we look, there's a button down here that says summary. So go ahead and click that button. And it's asking you what cells would you like in your result. Well, we've only changed the first 5 employees in our scenario. So we can only select 4 through 8, F4 through 8. So we just go over to the spreadsheet F4 through F8, because now that these values changed, we want to see how it affects this formula. So this has to be a cells, you have to have cells here that contain a formula, so that way when these numbers change, then this formula will change as well, about the output of the formula. Okay, so once we press OK there, then we get a nice little report. For our first employee, if we change from there, this is what would happen to, this is what's changing. If you scroll all the way down, you'll actually see the values. So, these are our current values here, and this is how it would change if we were to change that. Everything in gray was changed. These are the originals. This is what was changed. These are the original. This is what was changed. And then this would be our future value of the loan had we made those changes. Okay, good. Scroll back up to the top of that. Any questions on the scenarios? Okay. That is it for that project. Save there. Make sure your worksheets are in the following order. It says scenario, then retirement, then payroll, then employees. We didn't move any around, so they really shouldn't be in any other order. You can save that and submit it to my T-Lab.
For the employee one, is it D4 through D18, the range of it?